They said she was too young to lead, too green to understand the battlefield, too soft to give orders. Naomi Cross was just a tech coordinator and nobody thought she'd survive, let alone take charge. But in the middle of a mock military drill, when real gunfire erupted and blood stained the concrete, the only one who stayed calm was the one the whole team had mocked. She'd lied, but that lie saved them all, and then she jumped into the falls. Could you forgive someone who deceived you if they saved your life? If this story makes you think, drop your thoughts, share, and hit subscribe, because sometimes the person you underestimate the most is the only one who knows what they're doing. Handing command to a Gen Z kid, we're screwed for sure. A horse laugh echoed across the training ground. Naomi didn't react. She stood there, shoulders square, eyes locked on the tablet screen. Sweat trickled down her collar, but her face didn't flinch. Her cap sat low, nearly covering her forehead, revealing only a pair of sharp, eerily calm eyes. On paper, she wasn't the commander, just a tech coordinator running UAVs for a simulated urban combat drill between Alpha and Bravo teams, setting a wrecked suburban area outside Denver, using simulation sensors and AI to score hits. A safe military game, or so everyone thought. Naomi wore an observer badge, nothing more, but when the lead training officer got held up at Ops Command, she became the interim field tech lead. In theory, she didn't give orders, but someone had to allocate UAVs, monitor maps, and manage data. And that someone, unfortunately, was her. Is she a mechanic or AI version 2.0? A Bravo soldier sneered as Naomi reassigned a supply drop point. Let her mess around with that tablet. Maybe a drone will blow up for real now. That'd be fun. Naomi stayed silent. She checked UAV coordinates, adjusted sensor temps, and noted wind speed on the third floor of a collapsed building. What bugged people wasn't her presence, it was how she worked in silence, like she knew exactly what to do. She didn't argue, didn't push back, just nodded and took notes, and that's what pissed them off the most. Sergeant Greer from Alpha stepped up, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Learned your combat skills from Netflix, huh? Naomi shook her head slightly. Nope, from watching others fail. The words came out soft, not sharp, not provocative. But they left Greer speechless for a moment before he laughed it off, trying to shake the unease in his gut. She was the first one. At the mock combat zone, reset every UAV relay, checked power for the sensors, and even wiped down a damp supply crate from the night before. Nobody asked her to, nobody noticed. They just found it weird. Why was she so meticulous, like this was a real fight? When a transport UAV lost signal due to high winds, Naomi didn't report it. She climbed to the 5th floor of the target building, manually swapped the relay with a backup. Nobody knew she'd done it until the system was back online. When asked, she just said, because I need it to work when someone really needs it. Nobody knew the tech they called redundant had been in a real war zone where every mistake cost a life. In her mind, nothing was ever just a simulation. Every mocking laugh, every dismissive glance. Naomi didn't respond. She just kept checking her UAV list, sensor types, flight paths, supply weights, estimated arrival times. Then the first sound of real gunfire cracked through the air. Naomi was the only one who didn't look up. She just whispered, almost to herself, "Here we go." The monitor showed normal stats. 62% humidity, southwest wind, scattered light, perfect for a sniper drill. High above, UAVs swept over the ruined rooftops of East Denver. Alpha held the northern block, Bravo the southern. Both teams moved deliberately, textbook style, camouflage, scouting supply points, maintaining radio contact. Naomi crouched behind a broken wall, eyes glued to her tablet. She tweaked drone signals while cross-checking sensor data. Everything was by the book until boom. A deafening blast tore through the air. Another, and another. Everyone froze. Nobody knew what was happening until a Bravo soldier up front collapsed, gut torn open, blood pooling on the concrete. No alarms, no flashing sim lights, just real bullets. Naomi dropped low, pulling up a 3D map. Her fingers flew across the screen, marking coordinates with sudden heat signatures. No panic, just a quiet, not a system glitch. It's an ambush. Around her, soldiers ditched their sim rifles, scrambling for cover. One yelled, "Is this some psych test?" Another, "These guns are plastic, we've got nothing to fight back with." Naomi stood, still gripping her tablet. She turned to the nearest soldier, her voice low and firm. "Building B, 3rd floor, concrete wall. Fall back now. Avoid the glass corridor." The guy gawked. "Who are you to give orders?" Naomi didn't answer. She was already moving, weaving through rubble toward a supply point. The command room was packed with radar screens and UAV feeds. Warning signals blared nonstop. An officer trying to radio Alpha got cut off mid-sentence. General Adler slammed his fist on the map table, roaring, "Someone tell me what the hell's going on." The room went dead silent. A colonel's aide spoke up. "Sir, enemy identity, unconfirmed, comes out down across the board. Nearest brigade can reach the site in 8 hours, assuming they airlift from the border and move by ground." Adler gritted his teeth. 8 hours. They won't last 8 minutes without fighting back. He slammed the table again, turning to the ops team. Emergency orders. 17th Cavalry Brigade deploy and move to Point 4 F1 unit halls. Asked to the target for rescue. The rest set up a perimeter and one damn fly gets out. Scramble every UAV we've got. Supplies, medkits, weapons, recon, and arm those drones to take them out. Updates every 3 minutes. Nobody dared interrupt. Keyboards clattered. Drones launched in waves like a swarm of killer bees. Don't know choppers terrain's too rough, too easy to shoot down. UAVs were all they had. Engines roared in the distance. Within 30 minutes, dozens of armed UAVs hit the site. Some got shot down mid-air. A few exploded on impact, but enough made it through. Supply crates popped open. Real rifles, real ammo, heat maps, medkits. Naomi sprinted to an intact crate, yanked out an M4A1, and checked the magazine. No hesitation, no shaky hands, just clean, precise moves. On her tablet, she marked active supply points. Each red dot was a shot at survival. She mapped routes, assigned paths. She didn't yell, didn't argue, but nobody listened. On the right flank, Sergeant Mathers took charge, split into 3 groups, per protocol. Take the building floor by floor. Tech girl, stay out of it. Naomi looked at him, no pushback, just one sharp sentence. If you follow a UAV with a dead signal, it's not the machine's fault, it's because you think this is still a game. Mathers scowled, turned away. Naomi tightened her rifle strap, her eyes flicking northwest where the first shots came from. A thin wisp of smoke still curled from a shattered rooftop. She whispered, just for herself, survive with everyone or don't survive alone. A heavy roar tore through the sky, then another. In under 3 minutes, the airspace above the wrecked training ground buzzed with a deep hum of military UAVs. Drones glided over rooftops, landing with small parachutes. Some veered off course, a few exploded midair, but most they made it. Alpha and Bravo scrambled through gunfire. No more simulation, just survival. They dove for supply crates like it was a life or death gamble. Crates spilled open, real rifles, ammo, vests, radios, medkits, mini UAVs. In an instant, the mock drill was gone. This was war. Naomi dashed across the rubble, cracked open a crate, and checked an M4A1. No hesitation. She mounted a scope, activated a recon UAV, switched on infrared. Every move was fluid, no wasted motion. An Alpha soldier asked, "You ever used one of these?" Naomi's reply was short, long enough to know not to screw it up. Across the way, Mathers and Greer argued heatedly. Alpha advances. Bravo covers. Mathers shouted, "Hold position for backup." Greer snapped back. Naomi didn't jump in, but her drone map showed the enemy closing in a fan-shaped pattern. They weren't waiting, they were tightening the noose. She laid her map on the ground, sketching routes with charcoal. 1 hour, we're surrounded on 3 sides. If we wait, we're dead. Mathers growled, "You don't call the shots." Naomi didn't budge. "I'm not commanding, I'm just seeing what you don't." Silence. Then Greer nodded. "Give her 10 minutes. No delay." Naomi split the team into 4-man squads. Each moved for no more than 90 seconds, zigzagging through floors. UAVs faked heat signatures at random windows to mimic a larger force. Naomi led the first squad. She climbed to the 4th floor, planted a sensor, set up a signal jammer. Drones pinged to heat signatures moving in. Naomi signaled with a flashlight. An enemy peeked out, thinking he'd spotted a target. Bang, to clean shots. Bravo took him down. A young soldier whispered, "She didn't learn this in school." Another replied, "She survived when no one else did." The battlefield went quiet, but Naomi didn't get cocky. She reopened the map, tweaked signals, not to prove she was smart, but to keep the team alive long enough for someone to come get them. Wind howled through shattered windows, carrying the smell of metal and scorched dust. On the 3rd floor of a wrecked building, Bravo moved in an L-shaped formation, textbook straight out of West Point. But out there, the enemy didn't read textbooks. Naomi crouched behind a broken concrete pillar, watching a mini UAV scan infrared across the ceiling of the opposite building. The signal showed for heat signatures: 1 at the stairs, 2 on a balcony, 1 behind a blind corner. The enemy wasn't random. They were setting a trap. She hit the radio, keeping her voice steady. "Bravo, hold. Ambush ahead. Fall back to the west corridor. I'll guide you." But Mathers cut her off, his voice like steel. "Nothing's ahead. I've led my team through 2 years in Afghanistan. You're the one who needs to learn how to read a battlefield." Naomi went silent. Arguing now would only make things worse. Seconds later, Bravo's footsteps echoed in the empty hall. Her UAV flashed red warnings. Naomi whispered, "Please don't take another step." Then real gunfire erupted. Not one shot, a full burst. Mathers went down first, 2 rounds in the chest. Another soldier tried to drag him back, only to take a bullet through the balcony. Shattered wall chunks flew. Someone screamed, "Sniper!" Too late. 3 men down. Real blood spread across gray tiles. Naomi gripped her earpiece, eyes shut for a second. Not from shock, because she knew this would happen and couldn't stop it. Alpha rushed to support, but the enemy had pulled back east. The hall was just gun smoke and the fading warmth of bodies. Nobody argued anymore. Nobody argued anymore. Nobody asked if Naomi had authority. They just looked at her, silent, and Naomi didn't step up. She didn't use blood to claim command. She just walked over, picked up Mather's fallen radio, retuned it, and said, "Alpha, Bravo, from now on, sync with thermal scans. Each squad on a sub-channel. I'm not ordering, just advising. Final calls are yours, but I won't let anyone walk where I've walked out alone." No one replied. But no one walked away either. A moment later, Patterson, the youngest in Alpha, who once called her the lost tech girl, spoke up. "If you know how to get us out, I'm listening this time." Naomi didn't nod, didn't smile. She just flipped her tablet to show the map. "We don't get to mess up anymore. I don't need followers, I need survivors." She broke down the corridors by surface heat, wind, speed, optimal travel time, and the next UAV supply drop. The plan wasn't to win, it was to stay alive long enough to be found. Then she turned to Mather's body, bowing her head slightly, not out of respect but regret for a man who trusted the wrong moment, the wrong person. She picked up his rifle, still fully loaded. When she stood, no one saw the young tech girl anymore, just someone carrying a debt in blood, unready to pay it in full. The sun sank behind jagged concrete, shadows and heat rising from every inch of the walls. The combat zone held its breath. Naomi spread a tactical map on a broken plank. No attack plans, no retreat routes, just a jagged grid of movement that she drew lines with charcoal. 3 small squads, rotate every 90 seconds. No one stays still. No shooting without confirmed enemy positions, and no one dies from stubbornness. Again, her eyes swept the group. No one dared scoff, just tension and a quiet. Listening, nobody asked if Naomi had the right to give orders. Her voice and her lines were command enough. She led the first squad. Patterson stuck close, his rifle trembling slightly. The group slipped through a rusted iron door, hitting the ground floor. Naomi signaled a stop. She crouched, a faint red laser flickered across the tiles. She closed her eyes for 2 seconds. Not to pray, to map the building in her head. Opening them, she quietly grabbed a brick, tossing it into a corner. The laser snapped off. A sensor light blinked red. Instantly, a burst from the second floor ripped through their old position. But the squad had shifted 3 seconds earlier. Patterson whispered, "Where'd you learn these tricks?" Naomi's eyes stayed on the screen. "Last time I was hunted in a building like this and came back alone." In 15 minutes, the squads rotated, planting jammers, setting up fake defenses, and faking infrared signals with backup UAVs. The enemy started to falter. They couldn't tell where the real team was. Every time they fired at a window, shots came from another angle. A UAV pinged 3 heat signatures closing from the north. Naomi spoke softly into the radio. "No shooting, pull back, wait for the fake signal ping." A decoy sound blared from the opposite wall. 3 enemies turned right as Bravo opened fire. 2 dropped instantly, 1 bolted. The battlefield went quiet again. Naomi said nothing, just checked UAV flight paths, and murmured to herself, "They'll learn fast. Next time won't be easy." She looked up. The team's eyes had changed. No more doubt. No more hesitation. Just one silent question. Could the one they'd underestimated really get them out? Night swallowed the ruins. No one moved. Even breathing felt too loud, like any sound could give them away. Naomi leaned against a cold concrete wall, the tablet's blue glow lighting her face. The screen showed enemy signals, scattering pairs, small groups, hunting like snakes. Patterson crept over, offering his last protein bar. Naomi took it, didn't eat, set it aside for someone else. Patterson didn't ask, just said quietly, "You've done this before." Naomi nodded, eyes on the screen. "Tunnel 44. Whole team died in a collapsed bunker. I got out because I turned back 3 minutes late." She touched her wrists, where a faded hawk tattoo hid under medical tape. "Since then, I don't give orders, I support. Don't want anyone else dying because of my calls." The room went silent. No one said sorry. They didn't need to. Their eyes said it all. For the first time, they understood why she stayed quiet. The radio crackled. A drone sent a signal. 3 main corridors jammed, enemy signals converging west. They were locking the trap. Naomi stood. The team snapped to attention. If the west corridor falls, we're pinned by 3 sides of fire. No choppers can land. Supplies run dry, and artillery's off limits with us inside. Greer snapped, "Where do we go? There's no way out." Naomi zoomed in on the 3D map, pointing to a dark patch behind an old power plant. "We don't need to win, we need to live. Fall back to the UAV blind spot. Set up fake defenses at 3 points. Jam their signals. Make them think we're still here." No one questioned her. She didn't ask for command. She just took a dart as the team prepped to move. Patterson stayed close, whispering, "This time I'm not following orders. I'm following someone I trust won't leave anyone behind." Naomi didn't reply, but her eyes softened, just for a moment. For the first time since Tunnel 44, someone walked beside her, not because of rank, but because of trust. And she knew she had to hold that trust until the very end. 3 hours after nightfall, the tide turned. No more reckless enemy assaults. They were probing now, using small UAVs and jammers. They weren't sure they'd win anymore. The ambushed were now controlling the game. On the second floor of a ruined building, Naomi set up sensors on the floor, syncing them to her tablet. She coordinated for backup UAVs, each scanning a sector infrared, pressure changes, sound detection. They're scrambling for a weak spot, she told the team. For the first time since the attack, they're not sure they've got this. Patterson adjusted his mag, asking, "Do we hit them now?" Naomi shook her head, eyes on the screen. "No, we make them think they're on the wrong map." She pulled up the 3D map. In 10 minutes, she'd built a full decoy matrix. Fake heat signatures on floors 1, 3, and north windows. Dummy radio chatter looping. "Bravo, take floor 3, Alpha, shift west." Simulated footsteps and weapon clanks scattered like a squad was moving on the enemy's UAV feeds per simulation. At least 4 people were moving at once. Patterson's eyes widened. "You just redrew their battlefield," Naomi said simply. "With fake signals, we're an invisible platoon." Then she led to soldiers, silently closing on a building where a UAV flagged 3 odd heat signatures. She tapped a metal bar 3 times on a steel frame, a signal to jam enemy audio sensors. One enemy opened a door, thinking backup had arrived. The second he showed his face, Patterson, from the opposite rooftop, dropped him with 1 shot. Slowly, Naomi turned the combat zone into a maze. Every enemy move was stalled, disoriented. Every time they thought they'd pinned the team, the target vanished like a ghost when a group of enemies spotted movement at the central rooftop. Naomi used a heat trap to lure them into a room. As the door opened, a sensor-triggered smoke grenade popped. White fog flooded the space. A UAV on floor 1 scanned upward, locking 3 heat signatures trapped in the smoke. Naomi spoke low into the radio. "Targets fixed. Floor 1, left side. Alpha fire on the heat markers. Bang, bang, bang. 3 shots, 3 down. No casualties on their side." For the first time, no one asked who's in charge. They moved by Naomi's map, fired by her signals, held their breath to her UAV's rhythm. No one celebrated, especially not Naomi. She just logged enemy response times, their kill zones, and their likely UAV reserves. She knew they'd adapt, and the night wasn't over. She looked up at the broken ceiling, whispering, "When you don't know where you are, make the enemy think they're lost." Patterson stepped up, his gaze steady. "Not because you're right, but because you're the first person I've seen who wants the whole team to make it, not just to win." Naomi smiled. Her first since the shooting started, but it lasted only a breath. Her tablet flashed red. A drone sent a warning, enemy signals converging. 3 directions. The trap was closing. Naomi tightened her backpack straps. The real fight had started now. A slow, thick rumble echoed from the distance. Naomi squinted at the map. Drones reported jamming from north, east, and south. Heat signatures moved in sync. Worse, recon UAV signals were dropping one by one. Patterson ran up, radio in hand, panting. "You seeing this? They're coming full force." Naomi looked out through a shattered window, where the night glowed faintly red from burning UAV wrecks. "They know where we are," she said, not sure how. "Maybe they're tracking engine signals. Or worse, we've got a mole." The team went silent, not because of mole, but because Naomi's eyes stayed calm. To calm. Greer stepped up, his voice sharp. "Now what? We've got half our UAVs left. No more smoke grenades, ammo slow." Naomi didn't look at him. She said, "We can't hold here much longer. If we're pinned, we're done." Patterson frowned. "Where do we go?" Naomi paused for 2 seconds, then pointed west toward a raging waterfall crashing through a canyon, roaring like a dare. "That's the only direction with no enemy signals." Greer yelled, "You're insane. That's a dead end. Just water and rocks, no way out." Naomi spun the map, zooming in on the terrain. "Exactly. So we don't go. We make them think we did." The team froze. "We split. One group plays bait, heads west, triggers every audio and heat signal we've got left. The rest fall back behind the old power plant, hide there until support signals return." Patterson nodded. "You leading the bait team?" Naomi shook her head. "No, I'm with the hide group. Greer leads the bait." The room froze again. Sheetha, one always out front, was staying back. Greer eyed her, suspicion mixed with stress, but no one argued. Naomi had become the guide without being named. The team prepped the plan, but Naomi didn't join the hide group. She quietly followed the bait team, unnoticed. Only when the squad split did she slip her personal tracker off her vest, tucking it into Patterson's pack when he wasn't looking. Patterson turned, catching her. Naomi gave a faint smile, her voice soft. "You'll get them out." "Wait, what, sure?" But Naomi had cut her radio. She triggered a burst of heat signals and ran west toward the howling wind at the canyon's edge. Below, the falls roared, water smashing white against rocks. The enemy saw her, redirecting their forces to chase. She knew and she ran. Gunfire cracked behind her. Bullets tore through the air. Then Naomi stopped at the cliff's edge. Below was the waterfall. She turned back once, making sure the team was far enough away. She jumped out. No goodbye. Just a small shadow plunging into the white water, leaving behind a chilling silence. 30 minutes passed since Naomi vanished into the falls. Patterson stood frozen where she'd been, gripping his M4, staring into the void below, as if he could see through the water to find her. The bait plan worked. The enemy chased as predicted, but the cost. Patterson finally understood. Naomi never planned to go with them. She said Greer would lead the bait, but she was the bait. Every fake signal, every final run, planned for one person. A one-way plan, no way out. She lead to us, Greer whispered, his voice breaking. Reinforcements arrived, sweeping and searching. Nobody cared who the enemy was anymore, just where she was. Patterson opened his pack, and the first thing that fell out, Naomi's personal tracker. He clenched his fist. She didn't just go, she planned it, even thought of me to the last second. Search teams split two ways, along the waterfall's flow and into the canyon forest. Drones scanned the rocks below, chasing faint heat traces. Patterson joined them, moving along a narrow ledge where water trickled, and there, wedged in a shallow crevice just big enough for a person, he found her. Naomi lay still, half submerged in icy water, rifle still clutched to her chest like an instinct she couldn't release. Blood from her shoulder bled into the stream, but not enough to drown her life. She was breathing, faint, fragile but real. Patterson lunged forward, shouting into his radio, "Found her, Westcliff. She's alive." Hands moved fast, lifting Naomi onto a stretcher, wrapping her in thermal gear, starting fluids. She was airlifted out. Patterson stayed behind, watching the choppers fade beyond the ridge. On the ground, only a torn tactical map remained, folded at escape route west, a reminder that the cost of victory wasn't enemy blood, but a choice no one else dared make. Naomi didn't die, but a part of her, the part that believed she could stop fighting, was lost in the falls that night, and for those left behind, no one would ever see her the same. Not the tech intern, not the UAV coordinator girl, but the one who lied, so they could all live for real. 3 weeks later, Denver was dusted with snow, thin, cold, and oddly quiet. The training base was silent, no laughter, no boot stomping, no drones cutting the air. The temp command room where Naomi once sat alone with her tablet was locked tight. Frosted glass hid what happened inside. But for the survivors, it was clearer than ever. Naomi Cross didn't come back after being pulled from the crevice. She was airlifted to a military hospital in Virginia. Broken bones, shoulder wound, concussion, exhaustion, but alive, and then gone. No report signatures, no medal ceremonies, no accepting honors. She left as she fought, quietly, not needing anyone's trust. No phone number, no messages. Only one thing stayed behind, in a small wooden box in the middle of the tactics room. Inside, a hand-marked strategy map in red ink, a log of drone signal disruptions, and the personal tracker she'd removed before jumping. On top, a folded note, her handwriting sharp. "Next time, don't make the young girl lead alone. N.C. Patterson stood before the box, fists tight, eyes wet, not from emotion, but from understanding. Some victors never take the stage. Greer walked in, no longer the gruff sergeant. He rested a hand on Patterson's shoulder and said softly, "She didn't need medals, didn't need rank. But if anyone ever showed me what real leadership is, it's Naomi." Neither spoke again. They just stood there. For a long time outside, new recruits marched through the base gate, eyes bright, vests clean, steps in sync. They didn't know who Naomi was, but because of her, a new rule was written in the tactical command room. Leadership isn't the loudest voice, it's the one who takes the final responsibility. Naomi didn't stay, but she left something bigger, a new way to see, a leadership that didn't need orders, a reminder that sometimes, the one underestimated most, is the only one who knows what's really going on.